The man, the myth, the legend. When it comes to legendary Cincinnati Bengals receivers, it's impossible to overlook Chad Johnson, a.k.a. Chad Ochocinco, a.k.a. Chad Esteban Pepe Ochocinco, a personality like no other, not only in the history of the team, but also in the history of the NFL. Where does he rank amongst the best wide receivers in the history of the NFL? How many major honors did he win? Stick around to the end of the video as we explore all these and more. Chad Johnson is a former wide receiver in the National Football League. He played collegiate football for Santa Monica College and Oregon State University before joining the Cincinnati Bengals, the New England Patriots, and the Miami Dolphins in the NFL for 11 seasons. He was picked in the second round of the 2001 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals, and he played for them for more than 10 seasons. Johnson was traded to the New England Patriots in 2011, and he played in Super Bowl 48 for them. Johnson was a preseason player with the Miami Dolphins in 2012, but he was discharged after being arrested for domestic abuse. From 2014 to 2015, he was a member of the Canadian Football League's Montreal Alouettes, and in 2017, he played one game for the, pardon the pronunciation, Liga de Ftbol Americano Profesional's Monterrey Fundidores. Johnson became one of the most productive wide receivers in the NFL in the 2000s, setting nearly every Bengals receiving record in the process. Johnson was ranked first on CNBC's list of most influential athletes in social media in April 2011. Johnson was a six-time NFL Pro Bowler who was also named to 4 All-Pro teams and was named to the Bengals' 40th anniversary squad as the #1 wide receiver. Johnson was born in the city of Miami in the state of Florida. Johnson attended Langston University after graduating from Miami Beach Senior High School in 1997, but did not play football. In 1997, he switched to Santa Monica Institution in Santa Monica, California, community college. He played with the future NFL wide receiver Steve Smith at Santa Monica College. Johnson transferred to Oregon State University in 2000 after being extensively recruited to play for the Beavers by coach Dennis Erickson. He led his team to an 11-1 season and a victory against Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl that year, alongside future Bengals teammate T.J. Houshmandzadeh. With a 97-yard touchdown reception versus Stanford, Johnson also set a school record for the longest touchdown reception. Chad Johnson was selected in the second round, 36th overall, of the 2001 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals. As a rookie, Johnson saw little action, catching 28 passes for 329 yards and 1 touchdown. He set a Bengals team record with 1,355 receiving yards in 2003. He had 95 receptions for 1,247 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2004, including 117 receiving yards in a 58-48 triumph over the Cleveland Browns. In 2005, he broke the record with a total of 1,432 yards. From 2003 to 2007, he led the AFC in receiving yards for 4 consecutive seasons and was named to the Pro Bowl 5 times in a row. In the first game of the season, Johnson scored the game's first touchdown against the Baltimore Ravens. After scoring, he grabbed a jacket that read, "Future HOF 20." In that game, Johnson had 5 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown. In the next game, he had 209 yards on 11 catches and 2 touchdowns in a 51-45 loss to the Cleveland Browns. This earned him 7,229 career receiving yards, shattering Isaac Curtis's record. Johnson caught 9 passes for 1,038 yards in the Bengals' next loss against the Seahawks. Against the Jets, he had 3 catches for 102 yards and a 15-yard dash. Johnson was carried off the field during the Bengals' Week 9 loss to the Buffalo Bills with a head injury. In the last minute of the 32-21 loss, he dove for a pass and was sandwiched by Dante Whitner and Corey Wire. A CT scan for nerve damage was negative, so he didn't miss any game. Johnson didn't score any touchdowns or gain more than 86 yards in his next 2 games. On November 25th, he caught a career-high 12 passes for 103 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Tennessee Titans, and that was his 6th consecutive season with over 1,000 yards. He overtook Carl Pickens as Bengals' all-time leader in receptions. Johnson and Houshmandzadeh had over 1,000 receiving yards by Week 15 for the second year in a row. However, a loss to the 49ers secured the team's first losing season since 2002. In a win over the Miami Dolphins, Ochocinco caught 4 passes for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns, giving him 93 catches for 1,440 yards and 8 touchdowns. His 1,440 yards broke his own 2005 mark of 1,432. It was the 3rd time he set a Bengals receiving record. He had the 3rd most yards in the NFL, the 12th most receptions, and the 15th most touchdowns. In spite of this, his teammate Houshmandzadeh was chosen for the 2008 Pro Bowl. Johnson appeared on ESPN's Mike and Mike on January 13, 2008. During the interview, he discussed how he was treated by the media and team in 2007. He was labeled selfish and a cancer, and he admitted that those comments hurt his feelings. Johnson was selected to replace Randy Moss in the 2008 Pro Bowl on February 4th. This was his 5th Pro Bowl selection. This was also the first time 2 Bengals receivers made the Pro Bowl in the same year, Johnson and T.J. Houshmandzadeh. Johnson's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, said on February 4th that Johnson will play in 2008, but wouldn't say if it would be with Cincinnati. ESPN's Chris Mortensen said Johnson felt betrayed by Marvin Lewis and threatened to sit out 2008. Marvin Lewis said the Bengals never considered trading Johnson and won't unless the perfect offer comes up. Johnson reportedly wanted to join the Redskins. Lewis also said that he hadn't spoken to Johnson since the last game of the season. Yet, when asked about the trade rumors, Chad said, "Call me Dan," referring to the Redskins owner, Daniel Snyder. On April 22nd, the Cincinnati Bengals declined a Washington Redskins trade for Johnson involving a first-round 2008 NFL draft selection and a 2009 NFL draft selection. Johnson stated he didn't want a pay raise from the Bengals, but a change of scenery. Johnson ignored the media and missed off-season workouts and practices. Johnson then requested to be traded before or after the 2008 NFL Draft. Johnson claimed that he wouldn't attend any Bengals events, mandatory or volunteer, despite what quarterback Carlson Palmer said. Johnson told ESPN The Magazine on June 3rd, 9 days before the Bengals' mandatory minicamp began on June 12th, that he would be returning to the team for the camp. Johnson returned to practice on August 5th, following ankle surgery on June 18th. Johnson then suffered a left shoulder injury in the Bengals' preseason game against the Detroit Lions on August 17th and did not return. He was eventually traded in the 2011 offseason to the New England Patriots, where he received a 3-year deal. Tom Brady had hoped that Ochocinco would develop into a reliable downfield weapon. Instead, he struggled to understand the game, catching only 15 passes for 276 yards and a touchdown throughout the season. He fell from averaging over 75 receiving yards per game in the previous 9 seasons to only 18.4 yards per game with the Patriots. He didn't play in the AFC Championship game that year, but he did make 1 catch for 21 yards in the Giants' Super Bowl loss. Then his career came to an end. Johnson signed with the Miami Dolphins on June 11, 2012, before being dismissed on August 12th following his arrest the night before. And while Johnson has lived in a lot of places since leaving the NFL, he hasn't lived in denial. Ocho has freely taken shots at himself for failing to perform with the Patriots whenever he has been given the opportunity, but more often out of the blue. What do you think about Chad Ochocinco? Let us know in the comments section.